Long ago, in the distant lands of Japan, the samurai walked with quiet strength. At the same time, far across the world in ancient Rome, the Stoic philosophers spoke of wisdom and self-control. Though separated by oceans and centuries, the samurai and the Stoics shared something deep, a way of living with discipline, courage, and acceptance. The samurai were warriors, trained in the art of battle, but they were more than fighters. They followed a code called Bushido, the way of the warrior. Bushido taught them loyalty, honor, and respect. A samurai was expected to face death without fear, to remain calm in danger, and to live with virtue. They knew that life was uncertain, and so they trained not just their bodies, but their minds. The Stoics, like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, were thinkers. They believed that the key to a good life was not in controlling the world around them, but in mastering their own thoughts and emotions. The Stoics taught that suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. Like the samurai, they valued discipline, courage, and acceptance of what could not be changed. One of the greatest lessons both the samurai and the Stoics taught was the idea of memento mori, remembering death. The samurai knew that death could come at any moment. Instead of fearing it, they used this awareness to live fully with purpose. The Stoics also reflected on death, not to be morbid, but to remind themselves that life is short and precious. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Another shared belief was in the power of self-discipline. The samurai trained for years, enduring pain and hardship, to sharpen their skills and their spirit. The Stoics, too, practiced self-denial. Seneca would sometimes live in poverty for days, even though he was rich, just to remind himself that happiness did not depend on comfort. Both understood that true strength comes from within, not from external things. Courage was central to both ways of life. For the samurai, courage was not the absence of fear, but the will to act despite fear. They faced battles knowing they might die, yet they did not run. The Stoics saw courage similarly. Epictetus, who was once a slave, taught that even in suffering, we have the power to choose our response. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." Acceptance was another key idea. The samurai knew that some things, like the weather, the actions of others, or the outcome of a battle, were beyond their control. They focused instead on how they responded. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us, and some are not. Wisdom lies in knowing the difference. Both the samurai and the Stoics also valued simplicity. The samurai lived with few possessions, believing that too much comfort could weaken the spirit. The Stoics, too, warned against luxury. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Perhaps the most important lesson from both traditions is the idea of duty. For the samurai, duty meant serving their lord with loyalty, even at the cost of their life. For the Stoics, duty meant living virtuously, contributing to society, and acting with integrity. Both saw life as a responsibility, not just a personal journey. The samurai and the Stoics never met. They lived in different worlds, spoke different languages, and faced different challenges. Yet their wisdom echoes across time, reminding us that the path to a meaningful life is not in chasing pleasure or avoiding pain, but in cultivating strength, discipline, and virtue. Today, we may not be warriors or philosophers, but we can learn from them. We can face our struggles with courage, accept what we cannot change, and focus on what truly matters. The samurai and the Stoics teach us that the greatest battles are not fought with swords or words, but within ourselves. And in that fight, we all have the power to be warriors of the mind. So, the next time life feels difficult, remember the samurai who stood firm in the storm, and the Stoic who faced misfortune with calm. They remind us that strength is not in never falling, but in rising every time we do. And that, more than anything, is a lesson worth carrying through life.